Looking forward to this weekend, the nation pauses to remember a watershed moment in the civil rights movement. Sunday marks 50 years since the violent crackdown on peaceful marchers in Selma, Alabama. Senior White House correspondent Bill Plant was there on Bloody Sunday and is back in Selma this morning. Bill, good morning.
Well, good morning, Charlie. You know, 50 years ago, the black population of Selma, like black people in so many other southern towns, lived in a climate of fear. Segregation was the rule then. It was brutally enforced here at the end of a nightstick by Sheriff Jim Clark. And that was one reason that Dr. Martin Luther King chose Selma as the target town for a voter registration drive. I was part of the CBS News team which covered all that. Day after day, would-be voters were turned away, often roughly, from the courthouse. At a nighttime protest in the nearby town of Marion, a young black man, Jimmy Lee Jackson, was shot by a trooper. The next morning, we reported what we saw and the official version.
Later last night, a reporter called the sheriff's office to ask what had happened. A deputy sheriff told him it was a small incident. One Negro fell down. Bill Plant, CBS News, Montgomery, Alabama.
A week later, Jackson died, and the idea of a protest march to the state capitol in Montgomery was born. The first attempt, led by John Lewis, now a member of Congress, was stopped by state troopers and Sheriff Jim Clark's posse at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
You are ordered to disperse, go home, or go to your church.
March 7th, 1965 became known as Bloody Sunday, as police beat the unresisting marchers. President Johnson called for a voting rights bill, and 2 weeks later, with troops protecting the route, a crowd of thousands, led by Dr. Martin Luther King, marched across the bridge. I spoke to Dr. King as we passed the spot where protesters had been beaten.
Have all the activities of the past weeks in Selma come to fruition now? Is this the grand climax?
I would say this and its culmination in the march on the Capitol on Thursday.
Those pictures and these jolted the conscience of a nation. The late photographer Spider Martin covered Selma for the Birmingham News. He has daughter Tracy at a Birmingham exhibit of his work.
Yeah, that's his, I guess, most iconic image. That's Major John Cloud, who is telling them that the marchers, John Lewis and Hosea Williams, who are leading the march, that, you know, it's unlawful and it's not going to go on.
Martin's editors tried to pull him off the story. They didn't like the pictures.
Amelia Boynton.
Amelia Boynton, who was, you could see on the footage,
right,
how she was clubbed,
yeah,
and overcome by the gas.
She's 103 right now. Isn't that wild?
It is, because at age 103, civil rights activist Amelia Boynton still has vivid memories of that day.
The police department came up and started beating us, and I stood up there. Then finally I fell.
As she lay unconscious, someone suggested they call for an ambulance. She says Sheriff Clark refused.
And he said, I'm not sending any ambulance over there. If there's anybody that is dead, let the buzzards eat them.
And 50 years later, she has this message for anyone who says they stand on her shoulders.
Get the heck off of my shoulders and get to work.
Isn't that something? She has another message too, Amelia Boynton. She told us hate makes a person unhappy. And that is why she went to Sheriff Clark's funeral in 2007. It's a message of hope and change, even though there's a lot still to be done around here. But that bridge symbolizes the link between then and now. Charlie?
Bill, incredible reporting, and it just reminds us of our own history and the challenges that we have.
Oh, Amelia Boynton. I could
learn a lot from her.
watch an hour of an interview with her. And Bill, I've told you this before I emailed you, because I know all of your work from there is online on cbsnews.com. There's a beautiful 60 Minutes Overtime that I just absolutely love, that you have all your notes and your scripts from back then. It's just fabulous.
Bill, thanks so much.
I saved that all. And speaking of Amelia Boynton, we got to put her on online, so
Yes.
you can see more of it.
Yes.
I'll be watching it.
Yes.
I'll be watching it. Thank you.
Bill, thanks so much. And 50 years after Bill first reported from Selma, he's going to mark the occasion with an interview with President Obama. You can see part of their conversation Saturday on the CBS Evening News. The entire interview will air on Sunday morning show on CBS and on Face the Nation.